Okay, if I could welcome everyone to our program here in our discussion, information discussion at the LSE Ideas MSc Executive course on international strategy and diplomacy. Can I ask if at all possible, I understand people have different circumstances, if they would turn their screens on, that would be useful for us. We can see that they're living, breathing people on the other side. Thanks, really appreciate it. So while you're doing that, my name is Professor Chris Alden. I'm director of LSE Ideas, along with my colleague, Professor Christopher Coker, and myself, Dr. Aaron McKeel, Dr. Nick Kitchen, Gosha Brown, and Parul Bhaja are all part of the program in different ways and capacities. And so we're here today really to give you a bit of background about the program, some more detail, some of the details involved, and then answer your questions, because I think this is an opportunity for you to pose questions to us about things that might be very particular to your interests with the program. Let me start by saying that this MSc International Relations and Strategy and Diplomacy is a unique course. It's a course that has been running for now, I think, 12 years, and we're in it. You will be in our 12th year when you take part in September. It's a program that has several aims. First and foremost is to translate the ideas of strategy as they apply in the field of international relations to an understanding more broadly of how to think about the international system, about the role of business, about the role of diplomacy, negotiations and the like. And from that, we sort of have two strands here. One strand is rooted in the academic study and the conceptual work approaches drawn from international relations, foreign policy analysis, negotiations, and mediation studies. And on the other side, we have the practical policy makers approach, if you like. And our goal with this is to have a kind of dialogue between the two elements. It's about the conceptual work, the ideas as a way of framing and understanding international strategy, and the events of international politics as they affect different domains, be they foreign policy, be they international organizations conduct, be they business decision-making, be they civil society, NGOs and the like. So across the array, and also draw from real-life understandings. We bring lots of practitioners in who have substantive experience in the international domain in this area. So as I said, our goal is to pull the two threads of these together, and that's why I think this is a unique program. Let me, with those opening remarks, turn it over to Aaron, who can talk a little bit more about the structure of the program. Aaron, over to you.
Thank you, Chris. Right, my name is Aaron McKeel, Dr. Aaron McKeel. I hail from Canada originally. I've been on this program, I think this is my 4th year, going in 5th year. In my opinion, it's one of the best programs of its kind. It's a proper MSc degree. It's a proper academic degree, even though it says executive on the front, it's a proper degree. Let me show you more detail about what Chris was introducing you to with my share screen function. Right, so this is our brochure, which you can access on the website when it's functioning, and it will be. On these 2 pages, you get your most detailed. This is kind of like the one part of the brochure that everyone needs for the whole year, because it has the calendar and the curriculum overview. In your calendar, you can see that there's 4 chunks here. These are what we call intensive weeks of study, 9 to 5 every day or thereabouts. Full course worth of taught material in 1 week. So they are intensive. And then we have our Wednesday evening sessions. So while you're working, after work, we have these sessions of lectures and seminars, and 2 policy weekends, away weekends as it were, on thematic issues. It's a program of 4 courses. All of them are compulsory, so it's a bespoke custom program designed with certain overall learning objectives, where each course has its own learning objectives, but they're supposed to all add up, right? So here we are in the program journey. We're before the program, right? This is when you have applied or you will apply. At this moment, you should be worrying about getting your application in order and pre-readings, that kind of stuff, looking at the program. And in the Michaelmas term, we focus on strategy. Focus on your strategic thinking. We do bring in some of the traditional aspects of strategy, especially our practitioners and military aspects of strategy, the use of force in international politics, but we also want to think about strategic thinking, and helping you practice strategic thinking is more of an overall objective, because we're not all in the military, we're not all in government, many of you are in business and private sector as well. So strategic thinking is the skill we kind of aim for there. We do that mix with practitioners and academics as well. We also look at the international political economy in that part of the program. So we want to interface the strategic behavior states and other actors with the global economic system. You know, how do they mutually affect each other? And the second intensive week, we also spend on regions. So we do one focus on Africa, one on Latin America, the Middle East. We want to look around, and it's not only global level stuff. Then in the Lent term, which is the spring, we focus on diplomacy. So strategy is about, you know, your strategic planning and your adversary. Diplomacy is quite about engaging them too. So we look at diplomatic skills, and Hugh Sanderman, our head of practitioners, brings in really, really high level diplomats and foreign ministers, even for serving and former foreign ministers, to show you how to operate at a higher level. And we look at negotiation skills, because we're not all diplomats, right? But negotiation skills applies to all of us. If you have a strategy, sometimes diplomacy and negotiation is really important to bring it to your counterparts and your superiors, as well as your adversaries, to negotiate. And we spend a whole week on introducing these skills, and we have a number of simulations we do. We did a trade negotiation simulation this year. And then we moved to facing the future, strategic decisions. And so that's the last component of the top program. We do a lot of crisis simulations there. So how do you conduct strategic decisions in conditions of uncertainty and crisis? And so we put it all kind of to the test there. There's assessment. You have 2 essays, one formative, one summative, meaning one is for practice and one goes on your transcript, and one policy paper, one formative and one summative. Then the summer term, which seems like a long way away, but you'll get there, is dissertation time. Professor Alden, Dr. Kitchen, and I, we take you through how to build an academic dissertation. So that is your analytical research skills in your dissertation. So yeah, in this program, you do get that analytical ability that the academics give you, what explains the strategic conduct, but also that vocational applied skills about how to conduct strategy and diplomacy in public and private capacities from the practitioners. So it's a bespoke program. We try to put it all together in 1 year. It's a 1-year degree as well. That's another nice thing about doing a degree in the UK. I think that's kind of my overview. I'm on the program throughout the year as well as course tutor. So I provide academic support as needed. So you can call in my office hours throughout the year. I'm an added bonus of doing an executive program. You get a full-time course tutor. So this program's for mid-career professionals, or at least it's designed that. So we have really high achieving students on the program every year. This year, of course, as well. And we try to prepare you to move up to higher levels. And the alumni of this program is quite large now, 300 or more. We might be at 330 this year, I think. And we have an away day with the alumni every year in June. And many of them are really senior levels in their respective fields at the moment. So that's what we're trying to achieve. And as Chris said, it's a really successful program. I'm really happy to be on it for so long. And that's it for me. Maybe Nick, are you next? Is that correct, Chris?
You want me to go next, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is Nick Kitchen. I'm a senior lecturer in international relations at the University of Surrey, formerly of the Ideas Parish. I've been teaching on this program for 8-9 years now. And I think what I wanted to say was just a couple of things about what I think is really rewarding about this program for students. And the first is the people you're going to meet, not just the people that we bring in terms of senior practitioners, as well as a really interesting and world-class range of academics, but also the people you're going to be studying with, right? The links that you form, the experiences that your fellow members of the cohort have are just really interesting. It's part of the reason why I continue to teach on the program, is the nature of the students. They're such interesting people to learn from my point of view, as well as to me. And as Aaron said, you're going to join, after you finish the program, this alumni community, which is getting on for 350 strong now. So I think that's a really major benefit of the program, quite apart from the things that you might learn in the academic sense. The second thing I think is really important on the program is the things that you learn in the academic sense. I think Aaron's sort of taken you through the ideas of the sort of content of what that might be. But I think the thing I would focus on more than anything else, and as someone whose background is kind of research is in power analysis and thinking about how states approach the task of competing with other states and building strategy in the international system, I think the thing that you get out of the course is a real sharp, focused sense about how to think about tasks and about problems and questions, and how to think critically about them, how to understand the nature of a problem, and then how to develop a solution. And I think those skills that we are driving throughout the course, whether that's on the Wednesday night academic sessions within seminars, or whether it's through the practical exercise that we do in the intensive weeks or on the policy weekends, driving those kind of critical thinking and problem solving skills at a really kind of high level, dealing with problems that are really fundamental, problems of war and peace, problems of the economy and prosperity. I think that's one of the things that you take away from this course, which you can apply to whatever your career is. And I know students who've been on this course gain a real sense of a real catalyst to their careers, whether that's in pushing their existing career forward, or it's transitioning and maybe taking a sidestep into something slightly different, where we've got quite a lot of examples of students having done that. So I'll leave it there and actually pass you on to some of the students who are currently undertaking the program. So I don't know who's going to go first. Maybe Bushra. Is Bushra here? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Nick. Just a quick question. Can you hear me? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, we've got you.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I mean, to be very honest, it's a fantastic program. So my name is Bushra, and I'm a current student for the ongoing session, and I work with the World Food Program. Currently, I'm based in Nigeria. With UN, I've been working since 2014. So I've been in the field for quite some time, and I was put in like different sort of situation where we did work on like the daily kind of like the practical aspect of strategy, diplomacy, and all this. For me, the program, one of the reasons that I actually was interested in this program is how it was designed, to kind of push myself to kind of learn a little bit more about the theoretical part of that, and also learn a lot more about the strategy and diplomacy between like states and how they kind of affect not just like the state itself, but globally everyone. Everyone. So for me, it's very, very, like I found out that it's actually quite relevant to what I do, but at the same time, it does push me a lot more to think about the question why and how. So sometimes, like when we work, we get seasoned to things that we think that we know everything, we know a lot of things, but sometimes we kind of also become like, our vision becomes like focused and narrowed to certain things. And this is the course that actually pushed my boundaries to actually think about those aspects of why and how. For instance, there was a long session about North Korea. There was another session about nuclear strategy, or even the grand strategy. So for example, in our daily work life with United Nations, and I was also based in North Korea for some time. So I had the kind of like the practical day-to-day life, sort of like this diplomatic crisis and situation that I faced. And I was based in there during their 6th nuclear test. So it was kind of one of the critical and chaotic situation that I think we all face when I was based in there. But again, that didn't push me about the question why this is happening, how we are all getting affected by that. And to be very honest, this was really an eye-opening session for me to kind of not just thinking about like what exactly I know about the situation, but like why this is happening and how this is happening. So it does help me a lot to actually think about more about how we are connected, thinking about the things, the international affairs that we see on daily basis and how they are actually connected to each other. We talk about like now Ukraine crisis, but a lot of the things, maybe because I work in World Food Program, I see the crisis in a different way, but there are other aspects of it that I wouldn't necessarily actively be thinking about it. But this is a session that actually helped me to kind of think about way beyond just my day-to-day work or just beyond the part of United Nations and its role. So that's how that's benefiting me. So yeah, that's all I can say. And it's a fantastic program. I think you should all apply for it. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Bushra, very much. Can I ask Alexander to speak, and then we'll follow that with Parul.
Absolutely. Can you all hear me? Thumbs up. Fantastic. All right. Good morning, everybody, or good evening, depending on where you are. Using time of day in this program is always a danger. So that tells you the first thing about the international aspect of it. I'm Alex. I'm also in the current class together with Bushra. I just saw her a few weeks ago in London, last intensive week. So it's fun to see you on VC right now. I'm one of the industry members of the group. I'm a director at Google for security and privacy. So clearly coming from like a very different background, which shows you something about the history and the sort of setup of the program. I like when the rest was talking, I was thinking like, hey, what are the 3 things that I want to get across that I think are unique about this program? I think the 3 sort of like things that stuck out to me is, first of all, the one I didn't expect was the approach the program takes to the topics. You know, it's a strategy and diplomacy could mean so many things, and I was very intrigued coming in, like what it does. And the approach is pretty unique and sort of there's a really solid theory, solid problem-solving approach to it. Strategy was a good example. You know, coming from industry, strategy is often, you know, 1, 2, 3, profit. And this program challenges you and gives you a very different way of thinking about this. I still remember the first week I sat down and the sort of, there was this very impressive man up front who was saying, you know, strategy, let me start with Clausewitz. And I was like, these are my people. Like, we're talking about serious, like, historical context and sort of like theoretical underlayment to things, which is a very different way than you would sort of often find in other courses and much more enriching academically. So I found that to be sort of a theme throughout the program that you had to go into the theory, which is hard when you come, you know, after 10 years in industry, but nevertheless, it really gets you thinking again. I think the practice of that is added onto that really feeds off of that, where you have just incredible folks coming in from the government, from the military, from industry, from like agencies, who sort of bring that theory to life and sort of like, you know, bring real life examples and often talk through how this applies in the real world. So not only do you have a much more theoretical foundation, you would find that you find more than other courses and degrees, you really find like where it's applied. You can sort of draw that connection, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And that brings me sort of to the third point, which is the thing that I absolutely didn't expect, which was the people. I don't know how many of you come from industry. I was definitely the first day kind of curious what the setup of the group is. You know, they select 30 people. It's like, how did they select them, and like how did they accidentally get me going here? And then, you know, it was quite incredible to see sort of the mix that was created and what magic that really creates. If you have folks from government, diplomats, folks from the military, you have some folks from different industries in industry. So that combination in the class was just absolutely creating magic. Putting these people together, there's very few other places you would find all of us in the same room arguing about, you know, Clausewitz, so or neoclassical realism. So that's absolutely phenomenal. And that sort of, you know, also applies to the other side of things. The caliber of lecturers, the caliber of speakers from academia, from industry, from government is absolutely amazing. Sort of to bring that to life, and the access you have not only in the lecture but also sort of in the you know, post-lecture engagement is absolutely something that I always say sort of tickled my brain in a brand new way, which was kind of fantastic. So that combination, you know, is sort of pretty unique in terms of these kind of courses, these kind of degrees. I'll leave you with one thing, because, yeah, having somebody up here who was excited, you're asking yourselves like, so you're getting a better grade for coming here? It's like, obviously I am. Aaron and Nick and Chris, remember that. But also, I think that I'm going to leave with you is, it's really, you know, it's no walk in the park. Challenging, and it really like, you know, gets you to engage, and you have to really be there when you're there. But the rewards are just tremendous. So it's intense, but it's an intense year. You like I have so far loved, and I say that, you know, at 5 a.m. in San Francisco. So even at this moment in time, I love it.
Thanks, Alex, very much.
Chris, I can't top it.
Yeah. Over to you.
Between Bushra and Alex, I really can't top it. But this is, for all of you who are interested in the program, this is, you know, front row seat to how outstanding our cohort is and how wonderful the people are and impressive they are from their backgrounds. Like Alex, I'm from the private sector as well. I'm currently at Nissan, and I've vacillated between their communications groups and their sustainability and corporate social responsibility functions. And my entire career has been in the private sector, and have been fortunate to work for global companies throughout my career. And the impetus for me joining this program was just watching the world evolve over the last 2 years. So obviously COVID, I don't have to explain to anybody what that has done to supply chains, specifically for the automotive industry, watching the semiconductor chip shortage and the way that that has changed the way we do business altogether. And then just the ebbs and flows of nationalism and globalism, and trying to make sense of the world that I work in, and not just look at it selfishly from my industry or even the private sector in general, but wanting to understand bigger picture how the world works. And as Aaron and Nick and Chris have said, this program is uniquely positioned to be able to do that. And make no mistake, it's extremely rigorous. It's very much, even though it's an executive program, it's very much, it has the rigor of a regular MSc. I think what I've been impressed with the most, as my friends have mentioned, has been the makeup of the cohort. We have a really diverse group from across industries, from private and from public. So you never go to lunch. A lunch is never a lunch. A coffee in the morning is never just a coffee. It's a mental exercise, right? It's I've learned something that I never would have experienced on my own sitting in Nashville, Tennessee, or Los Angeles as I am right now. To get kind of into the tactics of it, which I know Bushra will do next. Each week there's really wonderful assigned readings that give you a good sense of what you're going to hear about that week. So there's a dense amount of reading, and all of the readings have been really fantastic. I feel like a broken record, but I know I take a lot away from those every week. And then on Wednesday evenings, if you're in London or wherever in the day, if you're doing it as a non-residential like I did, the lecturers and the practitioners that come to supplement those readings and help bring everything to life really leave you energized for the rest of the week. And then the real treat of the program is getting to come to London, or as a non-residential, since I'm not based there, and spend time not just with our professors and the lecturers and the practitioners, but our cohort, where we really get to spend a week together and learn from each other. So, like my colleagues, would strongly encourage you to do this. Personally and professionally, I can say I've grown a lot. It's expanded the way that I think. It's opened, new conversations in my career and in my current company and outside of my current company. It's created a lot of opportunities, and I can't endorse this enough.
Thank you so much. Thanks, and thanks to all the students who have taken time out of the day to do this, to speak about it. I'd like to ask Bushra to tell you some more about some of the questions that we see coming up on the screen as to the logistics and various things. You're on mute still, Bushra.
Classic error. Sorry guys. I'm Bushra Brown, and I'm a program manager for this course, and I'll be your first point of contact for inquiries that really any type of inquiries that are non-academic. So if there is anything you want to ask after this session as well, feel free to approach me. I wanted to talk just a little bit about how to apply for the program. Basically, if you go on our website, unfortunately, currently the website is down, so it's not the best timing for us. But there is an entry requirements and how to apply tab. And if you scroll down, there is start your application here button. So it's very straightforward. And just quickly about our entry requirements. Our minimum requirements are a good first degree of at least 2.1 or GPA of 3.5. And we also ask for at least 4 years of professional experiences, but we would like some more, but 4 years is a minimum. And if English is your not first language, then we ask for an English language qualification such as IELTS or TOEFL. I think that's briefly all I have to say.
Maybe you could speak a bit on the residential, non-residential as well.
Oh yes, sorry, of course, yeah. So in response to COVID-19, we've created a non-residential option. So this is for people who are not able to move to London and stay for the duration of for a year, basically. So for those students, we offer an opportunity to participate in a weekly Wednesday seminars and lectures remotely. So they can connect on via Zoom basically. We still require those students to attend in person during all 4 intensive weeks and both policy weekends. But they've got opportunity to, attend Wednesdays online. Whereas this is our resident students need to attend all sessions in person. So basically they have to be in London during the year. Yeah, I mean, in proportion this year, just to give you a little bit of a general picture, we I think 2/3 of our students were residents and 1/3 roughly were attending as non-residential.
Great, thanks, Gosha. I think there'll be other questions that come up, so why don't we do it? We turn to all of you because you've signed up to hear to pose some questions. I see 8 or 9 on the actual chat in the chat box. I'm going to ask. I'm going to read Luke, Schmucker, your question. I think it's been addressed, but let's just. There are many. Are there any requirements for work experience? We did say 4 years. So I think unless there's something else on that that you'd like to ask, and if not, Alex Haskell, how often do people in the program change jobs? Alex, are you there? I can't see you on my screen. If you could, if I could ask also students to, those of you who came in later, I'd request that people turn on their videos so we can see you. We need to know the real people on the other end of the Zoom squares, right? So Alex asks, how often do people in the program change jobs following the program and moving into the IR field? How are career aspirations in IR supported? Well, we have a career. We make you available the LSE's career guidance office, and we certainly have discussions with alumni who are people who've gone through the program and have translated the experiences in the program into either directly into work experience or into changes in their job approaches. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that particular comment. Gosha, then Alex.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say that we also have we also arrange a session with career coach at the end of the program, so you will have an hour meeting. It's not it's an optional add-on to the program, but you will have an opportunity to have sort of advice from professional career coach if you feel that's something you would benefit from.
Alex, and then I see Nick was going to say something as well.
Yeah, I think this is a great question. I didn't know to think about this either coming in. To Gosha's point, I do get a lot of there's an LSE support, there's the ideas support in general, but there's also the class you're with, and then the sort of previous classes, and just that collection of folks, I think exposes one to a wide variety of sectors, of areas. Even in our class, right, we are still doing it. We're still writing papers right now. I already see folks sort of having engagement, discussing, and so everybody comes with some experience there. So there's national networking happening, and I've seen that in our class already. Folks have made those connections. So don't underestimate just your peers as a huge resource for that kind of question. And many people come with that question in like, should I change slightly? Is there something else to do with my career? And I think it naturally comes in this kind of program with this kind of setup.
Yeah, I think that's certainly been my experience over the years, is that this is, for some, this is that turning point, and this is that exploration of a change, or at least some kind of response to their own circumstances, their career vision, or what have you. Nick, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of these specific examples and whether or not we can, how much we can say about them. But I think there's certainly individuals who have come into the program working in the private sector who have transferred into ministries of foreign affairs. I think of one off the top of my head in particular, who came from a comms background and transferred into a Ministry of Foreign Affairs setting. But I think often what you get is people realizing from the program the parts of their career that they really want to focus on, you know, the things that really interest them and really challenge them. And so it's less of a thing where you suddenly sidestep, right, than it is that it's focusing your kind of career direction going forward and giving you that sense of purpose and people following that. So yeah, I think it's certainly something that gives people career direction.
Great. I see Grace Diana had asked whether there'll still be an option to attend Wednesday night classes in person. And as it stands today, yes, that's very much the way we run these sessions. So that one is quite straightforward. And I see Monica Orellana recently found out about the program offering non-residential options. I'd like to know if I can change my program from residential to non-residential. Again, Monica, if you want to add or embellish upon that, I know chat boxes don't allow you to say too much, but perhaps you want to speak to that, and I'll ask Gosha.
I've already responded directly in the chat to Monica that it's possible and to swap at this stage, and I'll get Monica connected with our admissions officer, and she'll provide further guidance how to go about it.
You know what, could I ask, because I know Parul had spoken a bit about non-residential and the like, and I wondered if you wanted to elaborate any more about the differences between the two, and or Bushra or Alex, if you wanted to talk about what that experience is like and what are the pluses and I suppose minuses of it too.
Yeah, I will say, you know, being a non-residential, I never felt like I was missing out on anything that was happening in the residential program in London. I think, you know, we've all learned how to make the world work for ourselves virtually since early 2020. And this program is no exception to that. So all of the seminars and well, all of the lectures for the first hour of the 2 that we would spend on Wednesdays, we could hear clearly. They were, all of the professors, the lecturers, the practitioners, extremely engaging. And then we would go into an hour of seminar after with our fellow non-residentials and have really great debate and conversation and answer questions around what we had learned. So I think the only downfall of not being a residential student is you don't get to spend a year living in London and you know, being on LSE's campus. But beyond that, the program I think was executed just as perfectly as residentially as it was non-residentially.
Great, thanks. I see Alex, you wanted to jump in on that point.
Yeah, just total +1 to what Parul said. I actually was worried about, I saw that in the chat as well, some folks were sort of worried about the, like, how much do you get out of it? I was worried about the cohesion and how much is sort of, do you get the group feel in this new world? And that worry was unfounded. I found that through the intensive weeks, which you have to be there, and they're very intensive, you really very quickly build that sort of shared identity and shared engagement. So much so that, you know, there's going to be another intensive week that is not official, that many of us are coming back to London in the summer as part of the thesis. So that really created itself even remotely. And the intensive week and the policy weekends are like, A, worth the trip, and B, you have to go there. So it totally thing. The only downside I want to say is, like, there is a little bit on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday you sort of come in remotely, and you can't get to the pub with Nick, Chris, and Aaron afterwards. That's the one downside that I always felt like I was sitting here and drinking coffee instead of going to the pub and discussing IR. But more than made up for it by the intensive weeks.
The healthier for it, let's say. Okay. Bushra?
I mean, I think Parul and Alex, both of them covered pretty much everything. For me, it was like, I felt like because the non-residential students, like I think we have about 40 to 50% students are non-residential. So we also kind of like felt like this is also our chance to get to know our classmates. So it was also, it wasn't like everybody will be here, so let's do it slowly. We also had that kind of like motivation to kind of know the classmates and talk to them individually. So I think it kind of also pushes you, even though if you're the most quiet person, it will still push you that, okay, because I will be here for a short time, let's make the best use of this time and at least have that chance to kind of get to know each other. So yeah, I mean, as long as I think as long as you can participate in the intensive sessions and policy weekends, that will give you like good enough chance to kind of know everybody if you have the motivation to know everybody. And yeah, I think that covers everything. So yeah.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I think maybe be worthwhile mentioning a bit more. I'm going to mention a little bit more, and perhaps my colleagues can jump in on this as well, about the policy weekends, because I think that as a special feature of our program, we have a number of them scattered over the different terms, and we do things like go to Wilton Park and to which are off-site residences where we can both engage in with intensive discussions, presentations, group work, but also experience something that takes us a little bit outside of our usual domain, even here at the LSE in London. And I think that has an important. It's important in several ways. One is you get to talk to, I mean, you're basically spending the weekend with the policy practitioners and or the academics and your colleagues. And so you do have those downtime moments where you can develop links, raise questions, have informal discussions, and that kind of activity, which is part of what enriches your experience. And I think you take that away. Alex, you wanted to add something to that? Or your hand is still up, I see.
It's a legacy hand, but I can't say that the policy weekends I thought were absolutely incredible. We talked about this actually, a reflection within the course participants. And I'm very sure that we wrote this in the feedback that always is, there's a feedback cycle that Gosha always asks for, that more of those are actually really amazing. Because to your point, like spending 3 days, like day and night, and every dinner, every meal together, really in the material, it really gets you that extra intensive policy weekend. I cherish those.
Thanks. And I see just scrolling down, Liazat Rabiosi, spoken like an LSE grad, as asked if there's a discount for LSE grads, and I'm afraid not. but I applaud your question, having the impulse to ask. Marie Cato, when I don't have a requirement IELTS score, is there a chance I can enter your program by taking a pre-sessional course? I don't know, Aaron or Gosha, do you want to speak to that?
There's short courses, some school things, but the LSE Ideas doesn't offer any alternative to this program. It's a one custom program. There's no little bit part ability to do one part of it at a time. All courses in the program are compulsory to complete all 4. We don't have a smaller version at the moment. But I think LSE does have some certificate courses and other things related to international politics broadly defined, but there's no small version of this program. If that's the right answer to the right question. Yeah, if I spoke to the question.
Yeah, I think that was the answer to the slightly different question, Aaron, but it's the right, it's the right answer to the slightly different question, which is about whether you can do the course in components. The one on the English language would be for Bushra, but as far as I know, is it no, isn't it?
So I'm very sorry, there's quite a few questions about English language here, and I'm not sure exactly which one we're referring to at the moment. But is it about the processional course? Then the answer is no there. I don't believe we offer that right now. I've also seen, a question from Alex about what is the, sorry, I've lost the question now. But anyway, we offer places to approximately 50% of applicants. So I think Alex was asking how many people are offered a place on a program. What's the ratio between acceptances? So I think about 50% of applicants are successful.
And I see similarly, Yevgenia Gaber has a question about IELTS certificates. I don't know if, Bushra, you can provide some insight into that.
I've already responded to Yevgenia as well in a chat directly. So
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm scrolling down as I problem, and I don't see necessarily the answers that the people have given. So let me jump a bit further. Let's see. Emma Roberts says, how much work per week would current students say they have to spend on study writing assignments in addition to attending?
How much they're doing, Chris?
Okay, yeah. Do people want to add to our current, because it was addressed to our current students, not to us. Maybe they can step in with a few comments on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. That's a great question, Emma. So make sure you're carving out those 2 hours every Wednesday for the lecture and the seminar, but preparing for the seminars is really important. So I would say spending about anywhere 2.5 to 3 hours on the readings. And if you have a assigned question that week, making sure you're fully prepared for it and ready to deliver your 5-minute presentation. Those weeks you'll spend a little bit more.
Okay. Anyone else on that one, on those points?
I mean, I'd also add to it, it sort of is an ebb and flow a little bit, right? There is assessment in this program, so there are papers you have to write, there are weekend seminars, weekly seminar discussions. So lots of reading and lots of writing, which might be for me, like essay writing or something that to come back after 10 years is very different from your normal work. So lots of weekends work on it. So it's ambitious. So I did spend a lot of days and weekends writing papers when they were due. In fact, that's what I'm going to do this weekend. So it's part of the program, but it's also it's a good amount of work, but it's also fun.
I think one thing to add to that, guys, is that there's no maximum amount, right? So when students come to us and they've got the core readings and they say, I want to dig into this further, I'm really looking at this for my policy paper, I'm writing my essay on this, then a whole load more stuff comes your way, and you can go away and engage that. So that opportunity there to be guided to go into real depth is always available for the points at which individual students decide that they really want to go and do a deep dive into something.
Actually, case in point, these books all came because of that. Like there's certain topics where you go deeper and you get the books, and then there's some topics where that doesn't happen. But I will leave it open which ones are which.
I see now that I've had a chance to go through all the scrolls, we've answered via the chat most of the remaining questions. So it's an opportunity now for anyone else to pose a new set. If anyone wants to evoke, you can feel free to raise a hand and ask us directly if you'd like.
Chris, I just wanted to explain a little bit about scholarship, because I feel it hasn't been explained very well. Gerald has been asking about scholarship. So I just wanted to clarify, we've had a little exchange with Gerald, that LSE as an organization doesn't offer scholarships to executive students. There are other external scholarships that we invite people to apply, but we achieving scholarship is amongst them, and we have quite a few of our students have been awarded achieving scholarships. But really for the information, more detailed information, you would have to contact the awarding body for the scholarships directly, because I'm not familiar with the details of these. I know that they predominantly, these are only offered to full-time students, so I think they would only apply to our residential students, unfortunately.
Great, thank you. I think we don't have anything else. I see Alex Haskell has sent something through. What's the geographic breakdown of students? I mean, it's quite a broad spread. I think we have really representation from across the globe. It's spread, as was said earlier, but in terms of sector and interest there, but it's also geographic. We have, for instance, let's see, we have people from Latin America, we have people from Africa, we have people from the Middle East, we have people from Europe, we have people from North America. I don't know if there aren't any Australians as such.
Not this year. No,
Yeah,
but
not this year.
we've had Australians in the past.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I think we're up to over 100
Southeast
countries,
Asia, yeah.
In terms of the overall on the course over the years, but pretty much every continent every year.
Yeah, I think that's one of the when our students are speaking about, and actually ourselves as well, speaking about the why we like the course, why we like to teach it, why we like to be participants in it. It's part of it is that diversity of views, you know, the angles and perspectives that are brought, which challenge, you know, there's rarely a session where we don't have some real challenges in terms of people saying, you know, well, this is how I see it from where I sit, and that becomes sort of grist for the mill in terms of understanding and moving towards a better understanding of a given issue, topic, and dilemma, perhaps. The other thing too is that with this happens during the intensive weeks and the policy weekends. When we come together, we do simulations in some instances, and that puts people in a position where they have to identify with or adopt positions and develop an understanding of positions that might be antithetical to the ones that they have or what have you, but they need to, for the purposes of the simulation, really throw themselves into it. And that I think gives an awareness of the differences between different viewpoints, the why issues become intractable, how you can break that intractability, and just overall expand one's understanding of a negotiation, the problems of negotiation, the problem of intractable conflict, etc. I see another student, Cesar Kianu. I'm an EU citizen, but not from a Schengen country. Any relevant impact? Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, go ahead, Gosha.
Now that UK is no longer part of the EU, all European students are classified as, from abroad, so it makes no difference anymore. In the past, EU students were classed as home students, but it's no longer the case.
Yes, indeed. Dennis, I see a hand. Dennis Gowran.
Yeah, sorry, I can't turn on my video. I'm minding a sick 1-year-old. Thanks, Nick and Aaron, for the question on dissertations. I guess I was just curious, both and the temporal nature of topic selection. You know, how much does world events influence students' selection for their topic versus coming to the course with a preconceived topic that they might wish to explore. And also, I think, as Alexander mentioned, the breakdown between industry people and, say, practitioners from diplomacy and the military. I guess, you know, having a look at the dissertation titles might give a feel for that breakdown and what people choose to select. I previously, I guess, could have been classified as a practitioner, and I'm now in the tech industry, and I'm particularly interested in the digital IR work stream. So thinking of kind of thesis topics around that space now at the moment. So I guess that was just the reasoning behind my question.
Aaron, do you want to jump in?
Terrific, and Nick too, I'm sure you can say a lot on this. Yeah, so it's a self-designed research project, and it's not journalism, although it can speak to current events. So we're looking at big, serious topics in these dissertations with really carefully crafted, narrow research questions of your design. And it can be anything under the broad sun of international politics, right? So digital IR, we've seen dissertations on this topic. Nick, I think you supervised one on, was it cyber power or digital power that eventually got published? I think you did one on that. We've got trade focused dissertations as well as traditional topics of students doing geopolitics and things like this, but it's really, really broad. You customize it to your interests, which is actually usually an advantage. Bring your interests, bring your expertise to your own dissertation. It usually gives you some added resources to use. Nick, you know more on this?
Yeah, I mean, you know, IR is a huge field. It's almost a discipline without a disciplinary focus. So you have real latitude to pick topics, whether that's looking at individual countries, whether it's looking at individual themes, whether it's looking at kind of broad theoretical kind of focus, or you're thinking about you know, an area, say, of conflict studies, or an area of migration studies, an area of development studies. All can kind of come under the banner of IR and foreign policy. So in that sense, pretty much anything goes, as long as your dissertation advisor and Chris, when you have a conversation with him at the start of the process, says, yeah, you know, this is something that will fly, and you can put together a good kind of project around this. Unusually in this program, for a master's program, you get a huge amount of support in designing your dissertation. So the students are currently going through the process of starting off their dissertation plan, which is an assessed piece of work. It's quite unusual for a master's course. Normally you're just told to go off and do your dissertation. You might have one meeting with your supervisor. Here, you're asked to put forward a plan for your dissertation, you know, your theoretical approach, your methodological approach, your questions, set out the empirics, the data set, the resources that you're going to use, and that gets assessed. You get feedback on it, which then allows you to tweak and refine that proposal, in a sense, in conjunction with your academic advisor. And then at that point, we say, we think you're ready to go. And off you go for the summer and conduct that original piece of research. So that's how we run it on the program in order to support the construction of what we hope are good projects. And we do get very, very good projects.
I'll add just one comment, and then we have time for one last question, which is just to say that I think that some of the students do come to the program with a pretty strong idea about what they want to do as a given project. Some of that group carries through and does it. Others are exposed to new ideas or new themes or what have you, and then take that opportunity to a different theme. So we like to encourage an open-minded approach to the dissertation. It's always good to come in with an idea, but it's also, you know, the purpose of learning and all this exposure and reading is to re-examine assumptions and maybe pursue a path that you might not have expected to when you entered into the program. The last question we have time for is Gerald, and it's about if the program offers opportunities for students to study in courses that share with other departments at the LSE, and what not to study, but what you can do is you can attend. We have a very lively and wide-ranging public lecture series, and so really all the departments within the LSE put forward candidates for or potential speakers for this program. So in that respect, you'll get exposure to you know, the media and communications, or the government department, or IR, any of them. LSE Ideas itself has a very robust ongoing public events program as well. We have the Ukraine-Russia dialogues going on right now, which are quite focused on the contemporary, and all sorts of other events as well. So I think that that's very much part of the enrichment, but formally getting involved in departments and their courses, you know, that won't be possible. Okay, I know there are other questions out there, but I'm afraid we have to bring it to a halt. I'd like to thank first and foremost our current students for taking time out of their day, their work schedules to speak, and we really appreciate it. And we want you to go back and start working, have the rest of the day free for your dissertation, okay, since we've mentioned that. And then, of course, my colleagues, Bushra as well, in this context, for putting together this program, and most of all of you students for signing on, or potential students whom we hope to welcome as students in September, for signing on to this information session. Do follow it up with Bushra, Aaron, myself, Nick. If there are further questions you'd like us to answer, we'll be very happy to do so. But thanks once again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you, I hope, in September. Bye now.